Calling to order the Community Preservation Committee meeting of September 14th, 2023. Recording and taping notification as required by law. The town may audio or video record this meeting. Any person intending to either audio or video record this open session is required to inform the chair. Is there any such person? No, okay. Welcome, everyone, to our semi-annual review of open projects. We're going to start with approval of minutes. Did everybody get the minutes of August 24th? Can I have a motion to approve those?
I have correction. Did you get that? Okay, we're all
I
set.
transposed two numbers.
Okay. Could you tell us what those were?
On page 2, bullet point 4, where we talk about Harwich's, down, so just at the fourth bullet point.
Yep.
It's 5.4,
Instead of
not
4.5.
4.5.
Well, that's better.
Yeah, that's a catch.
Well, the trouble is, the new list came out and it's now 4.97.
Okay. Just that one number?
But be accurate, yes. Be accurate for the minutes, though, we'll stick with.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you have to, because that's what it was at the time.
Okay. Was there anything else?
No, not for me.
Okay.
I
Can I
move to
have a
approve the
motion to accept the minutes with the one correction?
Yes.
Second.
Any discussion? Let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition, abstentions? Okay, motion passes. All right, let's just get right to our status updates. Eric,
Should I go podium or table?
whatever you'd like.
Either one? All right. I got a bunch of them. All right. Thank you very much. Eric Beebe, Recreation Director. I'll just kind of go down the list here. The first one listed was 2019 Article Number 43, Sand Pond Restroom Replacement. This one, we put out to bid the septic. That was bid, and we are finalizing the contract right now. The building itself went out to bid, and we received no bids. So we are re-putting it out to bid. Sean Libby's going to contact some people that he knows that could possibly be interested in bidding. So we're going to rebid the building itself. So the septic, we have a bid for. The building, we're still working on.
Look, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When somebody doesn't bid, what does that mean? I mean, in terms of there's nobody that does this, or no one's interested because we don't have enough money?
It could be a couple things. It could be they weren't aware of it. Maybe we have to reach out to more people. That's what we're hoping it is. I've never had one go out to bid twice and receive no bids, so we're hoping the second time around will be
Okay.
fine. So that's where we are with that one. We're still looking to have it in for next summer, the new restroom and septic. Do you want to do, I don't know if you want me to keep going or just questions on each, or?
Just keep going and we'll
Okay.
regroup.
The 2023 Article 33, Sand Pond Restroom additional funding, kind of goes along, same thing from the last one. We should have plenty of funding between the 125 and the additional 35 for that project. 2021 Article 29, Senior Memorial Fencing. We're going to, you guys can take back those funds. We're going to rebid that. That went out to bid, and it was way more than we had in the money that was allotted. We're planning on putting in another article this year for that. 2022 Article 36 is the pickleball basketball project for the new pickleball courts, expansion of the half basketball court. The bid opening for that is on the 28th. We did have an engineer come in, put together a plan for us. It went out, it went through everybody, Highway Department, Recreation Commission, and it went out to bid, and we will know on the 28th bids on that. Also, 2023 Article 31 is the senior softball fields restroom project. That's going to fall under the same lines as Sand Pond restroom. We were kind of looking to see what we got on the bids for the restroom itself for that one. But now that we're rebidding, we're looking into maybe economy of scale and putting them out together. That's what we're talking about at the moment. We'd like to have them both in and done by next summer. And finally, the 2023 Article 32 is the Brooks Park Tennis Pickleball Court resurfacing. We had the bid opening today for that. It was well within our price range. We will get it was literally today, so we're going to get a contract together and get that going as soon as possible. So that one's in the works. So I'd be happy to answer questions on any of these. Thank you.
Okay, John?
Yeah, I just have one question.
Sure.
What happened with the fencing? Why, as far as you know?
When we put it out, it was pre-prices going through the roof. So prices have almost doubled since we put that one together originally. So we're looking
For labor, for materials?
both. Mostly materials, though. Mostly materials have gone through the roof. So we're looking at probably double that when we come back for it.
That doesn't appear to be happening with other things here, or if that happened with Sand Pond, perhaps.
Yeah.
Or is it just that was a year earlier than any of these other things?
Yeah, it was earlier, so that made the difference, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing?
Mary?
Nothing for me.
I'm all set, thanks.
Just a quick question. So what you're saying is that 2021 Article 29, the senior memorial field fencing, you would like us to rescind that total amount?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion to do that? And take care of it tonight?
I'll move to rescind the amount of, which one was that? Of $40,181.
Okay, is there a
And
second?
that's out of the general fund.
Yes.
I'll second.
Any discussion on that? Okay, hearing nothing. Gonna take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so moved. Good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Okay. Harwich Fire Station.
That's enough, yep. You don't have
Welcome.
this digital.
Good evening.
How are you?
Great.
Good.
We couldn't get the money that they just turned back, by any chance?
Thought I'd ask.
Joe Rigo, Harwich Fire Association. Bruce Young, I'm the president of the Fire Association. We're working on the 2023 Article 29, the old fire station. We're doing the historical preservation of 203 Bank Street. As you can see, we started running pretty fast here, July 1. We got the place roofed, it's sided, it's trimmed, windows and doors are in. We ordered the garage doors, they should be in by November. Is that the?
End of October.
End of October. We get those in, the building will be secured and watertight. Remaining on the project, we got lighting, the cobblestone aprons, and a couple signs, a recreation of a historical sign, and then a CPC monies plaque. So those are the things we're looking at coming up. We're working on scheduling those things with contractors, and we're gonna work around their schedules and weather. And that's where we're at so far. Any questions or comments?
Mary?
So I think it looks great. I really don't have any questions, other than just a comment that I'm so disappointed that you folks have been hit twice, so.
Yeah, we've had some
with-
theft, and
Oh, really?
it does hurt a little bit, but we've had some great community members come up and help us. It's been pretty nice, yeah. I guess that's the thing,
That's the silver lining.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, just disappointing that somebody would do that to you folks.
yeah.
But congratulations on getting so much work done already. It looks fantastic.
Thank you, yeah, we're
Thanks.
excited.
Marcy?
I'm all set, thanks.
I'm good.
Rob? John?
So, building materials? Is that what,
Shingles, yeah, we had, was 16, 17, 19 bundles of
19
shingles?
bundles sold.
Total, twice, we got hit twice. First time was 3 bundles, and then the second time was 16, I believe. And we had it locked up. We didn't have it locked up at first, and then we locked it up. And the one night we didn't have it locked up, we got hit the second time. So we worked with the Harwich Police Department, and they do seem to be working hard at figuring out. This is their second time working with us, obviously. And they can't tell us anything, but they did tell us that they're still working on the investigation.
We're not the only ones that have been hit.
No, not when it comes to shingles.
Oh, no, shingles are a hot
They're gold.
commodity.
They're gold.
Yeah.
Wow. So have you found anything to be, is everything coming in within the price range that you thought, or are you experiencing?
So in our construction, we've found things to be appropriately priced according to our estimates, but in the structure, we found some, what would you call that wall?
Structural
Structural
deficiencies
deficiencies.
Of course.
So
in one wall.
we've worked with that, and like I promised you, we've used some of our money, our own money, and we're going back and forth and getting those things squared away so that not only does it look good, it will stand up forever.
Great.
We actually have a better product now than we did before, taking down that wall and putting up a wood wall, and
It looks better too.
it looks a
yeah.
lot better
Yeah.
than, it's cost us a little bit more money,
Mhm.
but going forward, we got a better product than what was sitting there before.
Yeah.
Great, great. Yeah, well, I think everybody's pleased and excited so far.
Oh,
Yeah.
We haven't had anybody being negative about the project at all, so
That's great.
we did
great.
go for our special permits for the interior, for the second floor. We're still in the appeal process till next Tuesday to see if anybody's gonna appeal the apartments on the second floor, but so far, so good.
You might see us
You said you wouldn't come back.
for this project that we're doing right now. I remember those words.
Yeah, we weren't gonna come back for
It
anything.
was a
for the-
matter of interpretation.
Yes.
We weren't gonna come back for anything for the exterior. We didn't say anything about the
I don't
interior.
remember them saying that specifically. I just did remember saying, we're not gonna come back.
Yeah, we're not coming back. for
Okay,
anything
well,
of the-
thank you very much for the update. We appreciate it.
No problem, thanks, this has
Yeah.
been fun. And the August meeting, it was canceled about the separate articles or one big article for next year's possible.
We just postponed it till we had more of a quorum to discuss it.
Okay.
Did you have an
Well,
opinion on that?
We like the individual, we think that gives everybody more fair chance, but
Okay,
if you have another meeting for that, we would love to come and speak.
Okay, great.
and,
great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Harwich Cemetery Department, Robin. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, have a
Thank
good
you.
Yep. And then there were two. Like I said,
It's
we're
dwindling.
talking a fast meeting here.
So I have 3 articles. Article number 29 of the 2021, which is the Veterans Memorial Circle, which is definitely going to be open by Veterans Day. The granite's going to be delivered in October. I've already talked to Hamco. They're going to go do the footings, and everything's going to be in place. We actually are going to have veterans from the town raising the flags at the first ceremony. So Joe McAleer is our oldest veteran in town. It's from the Army, so he'll be doing the Army one, so we're gonna get one from every single flag. But we will send you a notice so that you guys can all be there for that,
You were talking this Veterans Day.
this Veterans Day.
Okay.
Yeah, so then the next article's Article 31 of 2022, and that is the East Harwich Union Gravestone Restoration Project. That project was $118,800 at town meeting. The bid came in under, it was at $61,890. The difference is $56,910. Their work should be done in October, and then I'll come to you to
Right.
get the difference. They have submitted one bill, it's downstairs to be paid. For some reason, we don't have access to any of those accounts. We just submit the bills to them, and Megan takes care of it, so. we
Robin,
can't-
can you tell us what's going on at the cemetery? Because it seems to be very busy right now.
So at this cemetery?
Yes.
So some of the stones had to be dug out of the ground, and so a lot of them have been put back into glued, and they actually have I don't know, clips on them that are holding them together until they dry. So what they do is they'll do some work, they'll spray the stones, which, with the cleaning products, so you'll see in the pictures that I included, some of them are really white now. So what happens is it takes all of the lichen and all of the material off the stone, and then they'll go in and they'll do all the detailed work from there. So some of them are in various stages of that. So in between then, they let them sit with the solution on them, and then they'll come back. But they should be completely wrapped up, he said, by the end of October.
Now, is that their, like, storage container
Yep,
that's there?
that's their storage container. So they put all their equipment in there, and they have all the stones. So when they straighten up a memorial, they have to put all new gravel underneath the bottom of it, and then they'll pour the footings on top of that, and then they'll put the stone back in straight. Then they have to backfill, seed, boom, so they got a lot more to still do, but he assures me they're gonna be finished and out of there, so I'm excited.
So when are they planning on finishing, do you think, or,
He said by the end of October,
oh, wow.
yeah, so they should be done.
Okay, so you're pleased with the work so far?
Yeah, I went out there today, I walked the whole grounds. A couple of the monuments, one of them was, I mean, you couldn't even read it, before, and it had been buried for, I don't know how long, but he got it out, and there's only one little piece missing, so he's gonna try to make a mold to put in that section, and, so that it's done. I think it's Elroy, I can't remember, Small, I think, Elroy Small or something like that. So then the last one, I've been working with Lynn from the Historic Commission, vetting all of my names. We're almost finished. We're cross-referencing. Once it's put in stone, we cannot take it back, so. I have her and two other people that are on my committee. My books, I should have brought them with you. I have three-ring binders that are about this thick right now, and they have everything from when they were born, when they got married, who they married to, where they died, where they're buried, and if they had a pension and their military record in each person's file. So that way, I'm making sure I get the correct person with the correct spelling, because we have a million Eldridges. Spelled with an E, spelled with an I. Some of them don't even have the E on the end, so I mean, and then we have, the Cahoons, they're a problem as well. Some of the chases with S, some of the chases with C, so it's very difficult, and we want to make sure that we do not spell anyone's name incorrectly when we put it out to bid. But it should be going out to bid by the end of the year. And it'll take about 6 to 8 months for the monuments to come back in, and then we'll have a dedication for that as well. I did go to the Brewster CPC to see if they would give us some funding, and they said it didn't fall under their historic. I then explained to them that we did it under the undesignated fund balance, and now they've invited me back to their historic commission meeting, which is, when is it, on the 19th, so next Tuesday. So I'm gonna go back and talk to them. They have called me several times in the meantime. They're so excited because I did all of their veterans.
Yeah.
So they want all the material anyways, but they do have some private citizens that also are gonna be contributing. It took me forever to get the donation account set up, because I was working with Mary Ann Ellis, and by the time she finally set it up, and then we finally got our forms, we've done our mailings now, and I've reached back out. Duncanberry is in getting me 2 different donations, so as soon as I get some more update on the donation totals, I'll bring those into you.
So anything is good, right?
Anything, I'll take
Right,
anything at this
exactly.
point.
All right. Questions? John?
Yeah, my questions, which I may have asked you before, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna ask you again.
Okay.
May or may not have, it's about data.
Yeah.
And the first is about the East Cemetery, and in the whole cleaning process, I assume you're uncovering things that were not readable before.
Correct.
And so, first question is there a database that has all the information you have about the gravestones, who's buried where, and is part of this work that you're doing, importing that into the database?
Yeah, so
Or is there no such thing yet?
There actually is a database for that cemetery, and it was done by volunteers from that church originally. And they have a cross-reference by stone, which they numbered, and then by alphabet. So it's cross-referenced both ways. So we took photographs before when we started this CPC project, and some of them just had the stones were on their face, so we didn't know what it said on the stone, so I just have the picture of the stone down, and now we'll have the after pictures, and some of the, I mean, if you go, you should take a walk through, well, you can't really walk through because it's a little rough right now, but just the ones on the edges, and you're able to read every single word, so, I mean, I think they really, I'm pretty happy right now with the job that they're doing. It's not finished, obviously, but I'm sure the people at the church are very happy as well. They did come to me afterwards and say, well, they're not cleaning every single stone. I said, we only had them clean and straighten the stones that were damaged. So there are other stones in the cemetery that are not cleaned. We do have a group of volunteers that work for the town. If you've gone by the North Harwich Cemetery, they've already cleaned the North Harwich Cemetery. They moved on to the Kelly Cemetery, and I asked them as soon as that project's finished, they're gonna move up. They've done some in Evergreen Cemetery, and then they'll finish that cemetery. So we're trying to get them all cleaned, because some of them would have so much lichen on them, you can't read anything. So, and we spray them, we use D2, that's what all the military cemeteries use, and you don't have to scrub it, you just spray it on. You shouldn't be touching it and rubbing it, hard, trying to scrape it off, because you're really taking off some of the lettering, especially if they're pretty fragile stones, so you just want to spray it and let it go. You can come back later if it's an older stone, and maybe with a toothbrush or some really soft brush and try to get it off, but I wouldn't recommend on the older stones doing anything too abrasive to the stone.
So just to follow up on my question, there is a database.
There is a database.
For this cemetery,
There
but
is.
not a townwide database.
We have a database I have an Excel database for every single cemetery. So I made an Excel database for every single cemetery with every single burial.
I see.
Yeah. So you can search
How
and,
complete are those? If I
they're
just
pretty
push-
complete. So
pushing
when
them-
somebody comes in, like, I had in the last 2 weeks, it's been unbelievable how many people pass away. But so then you come in, Mary must know because she works in in her department. So when they come in, they'll say, we have a family lot in Island Pond. So I would type in last name Smith, who was the last person buried in it, and then I'll go across, and then I pull the lot info.
Thank you. Just to follow up with that, the other part of the question has to do with the war memorials.
Yeah.
Where you have 3 binders.
Yeah. After they're finished, we're gonna scan them in and make them digital, so that way we can, the DAR and SAI both want those, so I mean, I've gone to all of their meetings recently, and I don't usually take all of them with me, because they're pretty heavy, each one is this thick, so I'll bring them with me, and they usually go through them. If some of them have additional information that I don't have, they try to send it to me, but I've given them all a list. I've had 6 different people, though, that are residents, are like, I want to join because it's going to be the anniversary, so can you help me with my stuff? And I said, I'll give you what I have, but I'm not doing your whole lineage for you. So people are excited about that project, so I think that's going to be great when it's finished. So I'm excited.
Great, thank you.
Bob?
Nothing?
I think you had John when you said digital. Saw his eyes light up,
Well, I like it digital too. It saved me before when I did, remember we
Have a
digitized all those records before? And then I did that article for the fence at Evergreen, and somebody questioned whether it was a galvanized pipe before. And I pulled up the digitized records that I did through the CPC and typed in galvanized pipe, and it brought me right to the actual invoice of the original record. I was like, yay.
Well, I think following John's line of thinking, I think what I heard was that if you have a stone that's been, say, half buried or not readable, and now it's gonna be readable.
Right.
Is that additional information
Information.
entered into the data bank?
It is.
Okay, I think
Yes.
that's where you were going with that, right, John? Okay.
Yeah. And so also when I do the CPC articles for stones, I always make them give me a before and after picture of every stone, because I want to make sure they clean the stones or fix the stones I told them to. So then when they give me that book in the end, we digitize that as well, which then becomes another record.
Great.
Okay.
Mary?
Nothing from me. They look great.
Martha? Okay. Just a quick question about the War Memorials project. How long did someone have to serve in order to qualify to be on this memorial?
So some people served for 2 years, some people only served for 10 days. I mean, it depends on where they served. I mean, some of them served in, like, went out on ships and they didn't come back for a long time. Other people served at a specific battle. That means they got to that battle, then they served for how long it lasted, and then they came back. Some of them have been as little as 10 days,
Really?
yeah. Some of them.
10 days and they
Yeah,
died?
not many of them, but a few of them were very short. Yeah, I was surprised myself. I asked Shawnee, I cross-verified that. So if they get a pension, then they're considered veterans.
Yeah,
So that's
okay.
why Lynn pulled all the pension files, and we cross-referenced all of our
Wow,
databases to make sure that we had them all correct.
great.
We actually did find by cross-referencing that some of them belong to Eastham, so we got to punt a couple names, so.
Oh, okay, great. All right, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Robin.
All right, Amy. Conservation Department.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
I'm also going to speak to the Skin or Quit article, just so you know. Amy Usowski, Conservation Administrator. The first one on your docket is the 2018 Article 57 for the public access of Hinkley Pond remediation and public access in the amount of $75,000. We've spent about $4,500 of that thus far on engineering. Where we're at, just for those, just for public information, 2018, 2019, we lost our engineering and surveying department. This had been started, and then we lost that. Then COVID hit, and then it took a while afterwards to get another surveying firm on here to do the site plan. So we finally got the site plan last fall. That has been sent numerous times to the Department of Conservation and Recreation with the state, and finally got in touch with, I think, who we need to get in touch with, but it's been difficult. I have reached out to administration to ask for help in pushing this through. As of last week, I actually did speak with David Burns, who is the Director of Partnerships with the Mass Department of Conservation and Recreation. They own the majority of the land there. It's adjacent to the bike trail. And he said he's going to try to expedite this. He understands it's a great project, and I emphasized it's at no cost to them, and we're going to maintain it. And he said potentially get approval from, they have a new commissioner of the Department of Conservation and Recreation named Brian Arrigo. He said as soon as next week, which was this week, and I haven't heard yet, but I'll keep poking that bear. Just so you're aware, I've already drafted all the permits, permit requests in anticipation of that, so hopefully we can get moving on this. So I did throw in the piece that these funds aren't allocated forever, so hopefully that spurns them on a little bit. They have no responsibility other than to grant approval for it.
So DCR, the land they own, is that the part that's closest to the pond, and then does the town own the other part?
It's closest to the bike trail. So if you're going down the bike trail, there's an approximately 40-foot wide by 60-foot long paved area that used to be a parking lot. That's been closed off to parking because it's dangerous, and that is what they own. We own from basically where the top of the stairs, because part of the is for us access to the pond. We own from the top of the hillside down to the water is town of Harwich land. But the majority of the area that we're talking about, improving, removing the asphalt, improving stormwater, picnic tables, an ADA platform, looking over the pond, all of that is on state land.
The ADA platform is on state land?
Yes. Yep, at the top of the slope.
Oh, at the top of the slope.
Yep. There's not, unfortunately, does not, without extreme, it's a very steep, pretty high slope, without a ton of switchbacks and a lot of disturbance to the inland bank around the pond.
Right.
It wouldn't be possible to get a stair, like go all the way down to the pond. But at least they'd have better access to get and have to the overlook.
And part of this was tree removal, right?
Yes, that's part of it too.
And is that on town-owned, land owned by Harwich?
That's
or-
on town-owned land,
So couldn't we move forward with that, at least, to get that taken care of?
We could, and I had gotten quotes for that. I was reticent to have that work done in the event that the state didn't approve all of this. It would seem unnecessary to disturb that close to the pond unnecessarily at this point. I don't think that will be the hang-up. We really just need, once we get this approval from DCR, we're ready to run with it,
Okay.
so. And do you, I'll go through all of them?
Yeah, go through all of them, then we can,
Or at least the conservation
yeah,
ones.
conservation, yeah.
Next is the 2020 article, restoration, rehabilitation of town-owned conservation lands in the amount of $20,000. This was for funding for assistance in managing and improving the conservation lands that, for a large extent, we've gotten CPC funding for. We have about $12,000 left. We've done a lot with a small amount of money, I think. We've purchased over 300 linear feet of new fencing and installed the majority of it to keep people out of sensitive areas. We've installed brand-new signage with our rules and regulations. We have some left over for the future. We've purchased and started using 4 trail cameras, which has helped with monitoring of illegal activities. The reason I'm waiting to spend that $12,000 is because conservation is very close, the commission is very close to adopting a new Bell's Neck land management plan. Probably in the next month or two, it'll be on our agenda. We're very close to being able to vote on that. Part of that is deciding whether or not to gate off during selected seasons or at night, the entrance off Depot Street. Back in 2020, when we priced that out, the cost was about $8,000. Costs have only gone up since then. So I'm kind of holding on to some of those fundings for that purpose, and hopefully we'll have an answer by the next time we meet for reporting. We have a lot of illegal activities that happen in the parking lot by the herring run, specifically at night, and we have had herring and eel poaching there. So it is something that the commission's taking seriously, and it just takes coordination with some other departments, Harbor Master, Natural Resources, things like that. But if we get an electronic gate that's on a timer, then that takes out some of the people having to go and shut it and open it every day. So that's that one. I think with just a little bit of funds we've used so far, we've made a big impact on our property, so thank you.
All right, why don't we deal with those first? Mary, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions on those, thank you.
Okay, Marcy?
Questions, thanks.
Bob?
Yeah, on the last one with that electronic fence, I gotta believe that's gonna be way more than 12,000 now, if it was 8,000 before. Are you gonna put another article maybe in just for that, this round?
I don't think so. We potentially could also use wetlands protection funds for something like that.
Okay,
If there is an overage.
yeah, okay. That's it.
John?
Nothing.
Nothing? I'll have to ask something, let's see here. Oh.
You don't have to, it's fine.
I do have to. I do have to, they expect it. So regarding the Hinckley's Pond Public Access Project, I mean, typically something like this, I mean, it's been, going on 5+ years. And I know we said it last year, that it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
And, but this is something that we lose big on if we don't continue to, keep the funding available. Because this is the part that we really,
We promised
This-
the
this-
people. We promised the
exactly,
people better access.
because of the public access part. And so, I think we just kind of have to hold tight right now.
I
Mary?
think you do too, and you've got new administration, if you've got new DCR
Everything has-
commissioner, you've got new people every place, so, it's worth the revisit.
Right, but I mean, we gotta get this done,
I know.
and I think
I'm
it's.
embarrassed to come in front of you after all this time and tell you that we're still in a standstill, so.
Well, I mean, I think you just should know that the committee is behind you, though. I mean, we
appreciate that.
really, really want this project done,
Yeah,
so,
it's a great location for it.
Yeah.
It's a nice improvement. It was a nice, combination with the doing Hinckley's Pond, so,
right,
you know,
it's
we
important.
want to see it happen. Too many people use the bike path. Too many people would benefit from that
Yeah.
additional public access.
Mhm.
And I find it really hard to believe that the state won't give you approval on additional public access. I mean, the only thing I could think they'd want is an extra, extra document saying, yes,
Exactly.
we'll maintain it, but, seriously.
I said, if there's anything you need me to prepare, I'll prepare it for
Right,
you.
it just doesn't make any sense. I get during COVID that it wouldn't be high on the radar screen, but
Yeah.
I would hope that now things would move along.
Well, with COVID, I will say for them, it wasn't on their radar too much during COVID. What happened during COVID is, right before that, we lost our in-house people. Then during COVID, there really wasn't spending going on anywhere for outside services. And we were finally able to do outside services, last year, so.
All right. Okay, how about the Skinnequit remediation project?
Well, this one's going just great. So, 2023 Article 34, Skinnequit Pond remediation in the amount of $92,000. This is the alum treatment of Skinnequit Pond. The Harwich Conservation Commission has approved project and issued the permit. On Monday, this coming Monday, the Board of Selectmen will be awarding the project to Solitude Lake Management in the amount of $89,028. So just an implementation, or the project will occur this fall.
Okay, because you were gonna give them some parameters in terms of dates.
Yes, it has to be after October 15th. We pretty adamant to make sure that the majority of the herring fry that were in Skinnequit Pond would have left before treatment. They're very sensitive when they're young, so even though it shouldn't have an adverse effect, it doesn't hurt to wait until after they're mostly gone. But you have to do it when the water temperature is above 40 degrees, otherwise it does not bind to phosphorus well.
All right. John, since you're our local,
I have nothing to say about
okay.
this.
All right. Bob, any questions?
No.
Mary?
No questions
Marcy?
for me. Glad it's making progress.
All right, great. All right, well, thanks, Amy.
I will say, I'll thank the Watershed Association of South Harwich in really supporting and doing a lot of the legwork for this project.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. Mr. Locke, Harwich Conservation Trust, step right up.
Thanks, Michael.
Bye, Robin. Bye, Amy, thanks.
Good evening. Michael Locke, Executive Director of the Harwich Conservation Trust. And thanks for the opportunity to report on progress for 3 projects that are described in the cover letter. I'll talk about 2021 town meeting article number 34, Harwich Natural Heritage Trail Project Phase 1, and then 2022 town meeting article number 34, Harwich Natural Heritage Trail Project Phase 2. So these are both part of a larger project called the Colebrook Ecological Restoration Project, focused on the Harwich Conservation Trust Robert F. Colebrook Preserve on Bank Street in Harwich Port. And as you see on page 2, based on the many different meetings and actions that have taken place since the last status report, we're glad to share that through the Public Works Project procurement process, that we have contracted with Sumco Eco Contracting to complete the construction phase of the Colebrook Eco Restoration Project, a part of which is phase 1 of the trail project that focuses on construction of the half-mile wheelchair accessible trail loop, another part of which is Phase 2, which is 2022 town meeting, Article number 34, for the roughly 100-foot boardwalk to be located in the easterly part of the preserve. Sumco Eco Contracting just started the mobilization and construction preparation work about 2 weeks ago, and I expect by May, June, that the construction of both of those trail projects will be completed, and we will have fully spent the funds that were approved by voters at the 2021 and 2022 town meetings. That's the update. It's very exciting.
Do you want to answer questions about these two together? John, do you have any questions?
No.
No? Bob?
No.
Mary?
Not from me.
Marcy?
No, all set, thanks.
I'll come up with a question. Let's see. So you're
She
saying.
can't pass up her
I
opportunity,
cannot.
Michael.
Mike knows that. So we're looking at late spring, early summer for the completion of these two particular parts.
Yeah.
Completion, does that mean that they'll be open to the public? Because, I mean, given what's going on with the rest of the site.
It's a great question.
You always say that. It's a
It's
great
always
question,
true.
Kathy.
It's questionable because Harwich Conservation Trust and our partner, the nonprofit Harwich Fire Association, are also working on the parking lot and trailhead renovation project for 203 Bank Street that both organizations bought in partnership in December 8th, 2022. And we, HCT and HFA, have completed the engineer design for the parking area and trailhead renovation. And now we're in the process of finding funds to implement that design. We hope that we'd be able to go to construction on the parking area at the tail end of the eco-restoration project process. And then be able to open the trails as soon as possible. That's our goal. We're, again, at the beginning phase of raising funds for the parking area and trailhead renovation process. We will be seeking $250,000 from CPA recreation funds toward that parking area public access project, so stay tuned.
So the Eco Restoration Project, the Colebrook Eco Restoration Project, what's the completion date that you have in mind for that? Because doesn't that need the whole thing be completed before you can open up these other things?
Yes, that's right. At the moment, they're scheduled to complete by April, but we're just kind of giving a little latitude there, just in case things run over in terms of the time frame.
Okay, and does the parking lot have to be completed to open up the trails?
That would be our ideal scenario. That would be our preference. We don't want to open it and then have to close it again. Right now, starting September 1st, the parking area and the trails have been closed so that the Sumco Eco Contracting can complete their eco-restoration construction work safely. And so I think ideally it would be better to complete the parking area and trailhead renovation right on the heels of the eco-restoration construction completion, and then open it all at once. That would be the goal.
Okay. All right. The Bell's Neck Herring River Land
Yes.
Preservation?
Yes. So recall at the town meeting of this May 2023 that this article number 24 was approved by town meeting voters. authorizing 125,000 CPA open space funds for a permanent conservation restriction to be conveyed to the Town of Harwich Conservation Commission in support of the HCT, our Harwich Conservation Trust acquisition of this approximately 2.87 acre property with over 780 feet of frontage on Bells Neck Road and over 1,100 feet of salt marsh shoreline in the Herring River watershed. HCT is continuing the process of trying to raise acquisition funds, and in so doing submitted a grant application to the state for its conservation partnership grant application. The grant amount in the proposal is $166,750. We hope to hear by November, December. And then, fingers crossed, if it's successful, we would convey we'd work on the conservation restriction process to satisfy the Article 24 town meeting, which, by the way, has to be revised. That's a matter that will likely come before your committee soon. It has already come before the Town Conservation Commission. I visited that committee.
You need to explain that to the people who aren't
Yes.
up to speed on
Okay.
that.
The article that was included in the May 2023 town meeting warrant, for some reason didn't have adequate language relative to the state's Community Preservation Act statute and the expenditure of open space funds requiring an interest in real estate, in this case a conservation restriction to be conveyed to another entity. So in this scenario, HCT is, again, to recap, buying the land subject to a conservation restriction to be held by the Town Conservation Commission. There was not adequate language in that town meeting article. The town meeting articles are reviewed by town council. So it's a question for town council why that article wasn't corrected in the first place. In an effort to correct that, I have provided the Town Conservation Commission with a revised town meeting article to be reviewed by town council, and then once adjusted and approved, included in the 2024 May town meeting warrant. Kind of a administrative housekeeping exercise by a town meeting.
Could I ask you, would it be an article that has no money associated with it?
Essentially, yes, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure how town council would structure negating.
Right, I'm just
Prior
thinking about
article.
the confusion for the taxpayers.
No,
Exactly.
that's a really
Exactly.
good point, Kathy. Yes, that's a good point.
Whether it's a revote or whether it's a revision of a prior article.
Mm.
Because that was always the intention. I mean, that, we voted on it knowing that it was
Yeah.
going to have a conservation restriction held, so that's disappointing.
Mike is being nice when he says it was inadequate. It was
Yeah.
not there.
It's disappointing.
There was nothing. It is disappointing. But carry on, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, hopefully it can, with enough education, it can be a simple revote and just a matter of, we're just clarifying that it's a legal I
Right.
that needs to be dotted and a T that needs to be crossed. It has nothing to do with needing additional funding. It's what we voted already.
Right,
That's right.
And it wasn't a close vote, so.
Yeah,
right,
right.
That's the nice part about it.
right.
Hopefully that can be explained in the summary about
Exactly.
the article, yeah.
Exactly.
Any questions, John?
I'm just, off the top of my head, there's the article which you identified a problem with, but then there's the motion for passing the article. My question is, was there any language in the motion and referring to the acquisition of a conservation restriction by?
So it's easy enough to check. I mean, I
And,
would think not.
and if that was the case, would it make any difference anyway, I guess is the other half
I
of
think
that.
the article and the motion were the same in this particular case.
It was probably just adopt as printed in the warrant.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, all right.
And if the article didn't have it, then it didn't have it.
right.
But hopefully we have enough time in the next town meeting warrant approval
it-
process to correct this.
I don't know whether the town is targeting a fall special town meeting or not. I haven't heard.
A little late.
There's been rumors, but haven't heard
Yeah, I
anything.
haven't heard. I
Yeah.
didn't know if it would be something.
I told Mike that, you
There could
should
be-
investigate.
Yeah, maybe, perhaps there is not if we haven't heard anything yet. What was the
Alright.
article?
Anything else, John?
24.
Well, my other question here is their action that is required by CPC. I mean, would this be actually a decision made by CPC that would have to make it onto the town warrant one way or the other? Or are
Yeah,
we
but
waiting
it's
for-
against the statute right now if we don't get a conservation restriction on land that we are contributing CPC
Yes.
I
open
would
space
say-
funds to.
Yeah, I would say it's a simple vote for us from us
Right.
to recommend the passage of it, again, like we did the last time, but just to clarify the,
I guess my
But I'd like to see would like to see the language and the actual
Mary?
warrant article before we
I have
would
it
write,
here.
we would
Yeah,
vote on
I've got
something.
it here, Jen,
Okay.
thanks. I'm just looking. It's not gonna tell me anything because it's not
My
gonna have a motion.
question is, does such a vote from this committee have the same status as a vote to recommend or approve a project that has been brought before us? I mean, all the other votes we have, so that it basically can't be changed, it has to go on to the warrant as written by CPC, or is it a different beast?
I think that we've had this discussion on some other warrant articles where the language has been slightly changed or some stuff has been left out. And I think it sort of reminds us that we need to have a clearer process.
Yeah.
And we also need to have the time, which we're not usually given the time, by the time that the
Yeah.
articles, are approved by the Board of Selectmen, and then they're closing the time period the town council look at. So I think that means that we as a committee, since we have had some issues, need to, I think, move our calendar up more so
Yeah.
that we have time to address that.
Okay, thank you.
I
Bob?
just,
Nothing. Nothing varies.
Ladies?
one question.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Is the 125 paying for the conservation restriction, or is it a portion of the 125?
It's the 125.
It's the 125.
Yes.
So really, all it was missing was a phrase to say to pay a portion, to fund the purchase of a conservation
Right.
restriction on the land. That's really what was missing.
Right. Yeah, it's a big thing, though.
It is a big thing.
It is a big thing.
However, I guess you could argue that it's kind of the only reason we could have supported the article in the first place.
Exactly.
So,
Again.
okay.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Michael.
Okay, the Harwich HDHC, do we have a representative to step up to the table?
Right over there. You're looking at him. Thank you to Bob for stepping up to the table.
All right.
So, we had previously reported that we had, the RFP was prepared and ready to go. And so the RFP was sent to 4 potential bidders as recommended by Sarah Korjeff of the Kitcott Commission. And like Eric, there were no responses to it. And that I talked to Sarah Korjeff about that, and she had said that, well, she thought people were pretty busy at the time, and also just the timing of it, and suggested going back out after a few months. So we're kind of in that position. I did reach out to the former Brooks Academy director, Marie Zan, who left position, relocated herself, and wondered if, because this process can be done remotely, it's all online searching for the most part. And she did respond saying that she was working full-time and, even though she would love to do the project, because she was very passionate about it, she could not do it, but she is going to send me a recommendation of someone else on the Cape that might be able to
great.
do it. So we can at least get another person to bid on it. And probably we should do some follow-up calls with the bidders, or the people we're asking to bid, to make sure they understand it or whatever.
And to see why they didn't respond. That'll tell you whether it's just that they were too busy or.
Right, right.
I have a question, Bob. Like, how do you send out the bids? Like, what medium do you use?
That's done through town purchasing. The administrator, specifically Megan, does that, and it's posted, I think it's posted in the
There are
newspaper.
requirements of where
and-
they have to, where the town has to post it and where they have to advertise
And
it.
it goes on the state bidding list
It
for
does.
a period of time, so,
And then usually you send it out to people that you
Right.
think might be interested, so.
exactly, and we did send it directly to
So-
those people who typically do this type of work.
Thanks.
So, that's kind of where we're at this point.
Okay. So, you're just sort of at a standstill until you get somebody to respond to the RFP.
Right.
It's another couple of months, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, I think
It's great work
Megan's
to
ready.
do in the wintertime. I mean,
Yeah, that's,
you don't have to
That
traipse
was-
out, you're sitting at a computer,
yeah,
you're on the deed
Exactly.
records and.
So does a person have to have a particular background or expertise in
Well,
anything in particular
I
to do
think the
this?
RFP calls for certain qualifications, whether, have done research or, and maybe have taken college courses or has got a degree in this type thing.
Okay.
The nature of the work, it's really not that difficult, and, I mean, I've even thought that we could just hire somebody maybe. It's more than a clerical job, but someone who likes to do online research or something, could really pull this together possibly with some guidance and supervision. But you're better off getting a professional that has done
Right.
these, then you don't have to worry about it at all.
Well, do you have a backup plan if this RFP is not responded to?
So I think really the backup plan is the second RFP and then seeing if we can find, it might be an architecture school, it might be
Right.
some college students that want some extra per, kind of almost piecework.
Right.
Maybe it's a flat rate per
Right.
building that they do the research on and fill out a Form B on. So I think that's a second route to go if we really fail at this one, if nobody comes back.
Do you create an RFP then that is directed specifically towards that kind of person?
So I think you probably would tweak it a little bit,
Yeah.
and you'd change it to be, you'd probably lessen the qualifications. You'd probably want preferred knowledge of
Right.
architectural types and history, with the ability to review online documentation and prepare. I think then the HDHC is gonna have to take a little bit of a stronger role as
Like we
far as
would.
reviewing what
Yeah.
comes back. And that's one thing that we really, it doesn't seem, the commission did have a real opportunity to do when the last kind of list was done. We got our report, we accepted it, and, there was a lot of work done. It was just some of these other deep dives hadn't happened, so.
So do you think, I'm looking here at the tasks, updating the 100-year
Right.
historical building list, documenting the clusters of houses and villages, and documenting other categories.
And a lot of that's been actually done. It's just the prep work, getting ready for it,
Right.
to make the list. So some of that's actually been done, just by myself and other
Right.
committee members.
And the committee.
Okay, so the RFP covers all of this, or
It's
some of it?
It's actually, the RFP will cover the actual writing, the researching and running the historical part. The clusters and all that have already been identified.
Bob's done all of that
So
already.
it's all a
Bob did
list.
that in creating the RFP and getting ready for the RFP.
So the entire list, and we actually, because we don't know exactly how much it would cost, we broke it down into each village, so that they can come back and bid on each village, and assuming it's going to be the same price, just times the internal. We can then, if we don't have sufficient money, we can then pick out the villages we want to do, particularly Howard Center and Howard Port, which have some of the more glaring misses.
Well, I'm just trying to understand the importance of some of this in terms of the documenting of the clusters. Is that not as important as updating the 100-year list? Because if the 100-year list is not updated, you can't do your job.
So I think it's,
Or-
I think it's both.
Trying to
right?
understand that.
I think there are buildings on the 100-year list that don't have the historical portion.
Right.
Back in the day, when you didn't always have to have a historical narrative to get something into Macris, which
Right.
pretty much everything that's on a 100-year list then gets put into Macris, which is the state database.
Right.
Way back, that historical narrative wasn't necessary. It is now. So we're trying to fix those deficiencies in existing lists, in the existing list.
So is that
And
part
then-
of the RFP?
It is.
Yeah.
It is, and then also do the deeper dive on the clusters, which makes sense for us because it will give us clarity when you're looking at a specific house in an area. Is it in one of these clusters, and does that make it more historic because you're preserving a neighborhood versus, for example, and it's a bad one to use, but if you think of like a small cluster as the Three Sisters in Harwich Center, knowing that they're part of a cluster, it's very obvious there, but, what if they were around two streets or around
Right.
a corner? Knowing that there are other buildings of the same period, you'd be less apt to not preserve it because of that.
Right.
So, I think they do feed the same purpose. And I do think, if Sarah's correct and it was just that people were busy, we'll know on the next go-round.
Yeah.
And if we don't get anybody in the next go-round, then I think it is a fairly easy fix to change the RFP to doing it as a piecemeal situation. We just have to lessen our requirements for qualifications and take on the responsibility of kind of
Overseeing?
reviewing
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
a little more before it goes into Macris.
okay. Well, have you guys, set, a time frame for yourselves or anything?
I think we need to have an answer by
Yeah.
within the next 6 months. We'll.
Easily.
I think you're going to know hopefully which one of those two options happened. We're either going to be going out to look for some college kids next summer that are willing to do some extra work and
Next summer?
well, I would think so because you're talking.
That's 9 months away.
Yeah.
But I'm saying you're going to know by May,
Yeah.
right, which route you're going to go. And by May, if your third option is what's happening, if we don't get anybody on bid round 2, chances are you're not going to get an architectural student or anybody until the summer because of college classes. So, I mean, I'm trying to be realistic on that.
So when do we
portion.
think that this second RFP is gonna go out?
I think Megan said she can queue it up anytime.
Okay, so that's,
Just gotta let her-
that's,
Yeah, it's
So-
imminent.
okay.
Yeah.
So then, and there's a time frame to that?
Yeah, it's like 3 weeks or 4 weeks.
Yeah, you
3
also
weeks.
don't want to go out back to back within, a month of, you don't get a response,
No.
you don't want to go out within
No,
the
no.
same month either,
Well, that's
so.
what they
No, no,
said.
of course
They
not.
bought it.
You know,
No, no.
so-
But, I mean,
No,
we wanna get
There's
things
not
going.
much to go, right, there's not much to going out again.
Yeah.
The heavy lifting's been done on the document, it's just getting a new ad and changing the dates,
Okay, all
so.
right. All right,
We'll get
chop
some new
chop.
contacts, so.
Anything else?
All right, does anybody have any questions? John? Mary?
I just want to thank Bob for doing the lion's share of everything in getting this ready. He did all of the clusters, he reviewed all of the 100-year list, he looked at
Wow.
everything. Had tried to work with the Cape Cod Commission on doing some other parts of the project as well that we thought was going to be a good substitute for us, and that didn't really fly the way we had hoped it would, so Bob has put significant consulting hours, unpaid consulting hours into doing this and getting this as far as it is, so
Thank you,
we're
Bob.
kind of finished.
Thank you, Bob.
Marcy,
Kind
anything?
of
No
finished.
questions. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Bob. Mary? Okay, the Harwich Affordable Housing Trust and Brooks Academy Museum Commission are gonna report to us next month. We do have a rescission to talk about tonight. Jan, can I have that?
Yeah,
I'm gonna read
one
you something
second.
from the Public Works, Department of Public Works regarding year 2023, article number 30, which was the Harwich Oak Street Bikeways Crossing Lights Project for $13,000.
This one, hold on. One second, oh, I don't want those up there. This is the first email, and then
I just want the one letter.
that's the
Thanks.
memorandum.
Okay. So, this was from Lincoln Hooper. On August 25th, 2022, he emailed the bike committee that he thought the intersection of Oak Street and Old Colony would be a good candidate for bike crossing lights, and they subsequently requested a CPC article in the amount of $13K to fund it. And then you know that town meeting passed that this past May. On July 12th, 2023, I received news from MassDOT that Project 613278, Harwich Safety Improvements and Related Work on Old Colony Trail Modernization, had been approved by their project review committee. This project will provide new alignments and crossing lights at all of the major crossings, including Oak Street. Although the project is awaiting a funding slot, it should materialize in a few years, so spending the money now on crossing lights seems wasteful to me. Given Harwich has this $1.2 million MassDOT project in the works, I would like to return the request for $13K for the crossing lights at this location. Thank you for your understanding, et cetera, et cetera. So they are requesting that this article basically be rescinded at this time because they don't feel that it's, worth the money spending now because it will be addressed in another year or so. Being optimistic here. Bob?
Next question.
Yeah.
So who is requesting to drop it? Is it the Bikeway
No,
Committee?
it's the-
Or is it Link Cooper?
It's Link Cooper.
But doesn't the Bikeway?
Well,
Committee
Bikeways
Agreed.
agreed.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes, here, down here, so, do you have the response from Fran?
Hi, Fran. No, it's mine just saying great.
But he did respond, I remember, right?
Yeah. Well, they're the ones who sent it to us. Hooper didn't.
Oh,
Fran did.
well, that first one that I just read was from,
Right.
right.
This was in the email. This was the document
Okay.
in the email.
They've been part and parcel to this, the Bikeways Committee.
Okay.
If you say so.
I do say so,
Okay. If they're in agreement, then,
yeah.
it makes sense.
Yeah. Yes, John?
I have a comment and a question.
Mm-hmm.
My comment is, I make not too frequent use of the bike path, but I do use the bike path crossing, at that crossing. And that's the only place where I've actually felt my life was endangered. I mean, I have crossed there when some blankety-blank person decides they're gonna go 60 miles an hour and they don't care if there's a bike in the way. And I've never run into, there are a lot of streets that get crossed by the bike path, but 124 is frequented by people who are just in a hurry to get somewhere or to make a very loud noise with their car or something. So I'm a little concerned about some somewhat indefinite postponement. And so the other part of my question is, they stated in what you read, something in Public Works ease that I didn't entirely understand. What is it they're planning to do a year or two or three from now?
Well, they call it the Harwich Safety Improvements and Related Work on Old Colony Trail Modernization.
Do we know what that means?
It
That means they're
includes new alignments
So they're gonna reconstruct it.
and crossing lights at all of the major crossings, including Oak Street. This is along the Old Colony Rail, the Old Colony trail.
So it's Oak Street and then 39 and,
I mean, you know, if it's, if the committee wants to have somebody from Public Works and Bikeways come here and talk to us, that's fine too. I mean, if that's what you wish. I mean, I agree with you in that somebody saying it's gonna be a few years before we address a safety issue is a little concerning. I think that Public Works are the ones that install the crossing lights for the Bikeways Committee. So it would be interesting if they would say that they would refuse to install them.
Well, I guess the telling point is that it's slated for funding, so you don't know whether that's gonna happen in this fiscal year or not, so,
Doesn't look like it's gonna be this fiscal year,
right, so.
I
so.
think it would help if they were able to come, just for clarification.
Okay, is that all right? Is that what everybody'd like?
there's no particular reason we have to rescind this.
No, there is absolutely not. There is absolutely
I
not.
think we should, I'd just like to hear a little more, because
Okay.
that crossing scares me.
Okay,
Now, is this the crossing we funded, though, is Oak Street?
the one we funded is Oak Street,
Okay.
correct. Oak Street and Old Colony.
Okay.
I mean, Oak Street and,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
Old Colony up there.
That's 124.
So if they're,
No,
Yeah,
it's
one-
not
no.
124. No, it's by the Brooks Park.
By
That's the
Brooks
one.
Park,
That's my confusion.
Yeah,
which is dangerous too.
That is dangerous.
No, I think I-
Somehow, right, 124 is the
Yeah.
thing that,
I'll just throw it out there, is, on a safety issue, $13,000 isn't a lot of money. If it's a major safety issue, so, you know, I understand and appreciate Link's willingness to save money as well, but if it's gonna be there for 2 years.
Well, I think it'd be it would be interesting to understand is if we said we want it installed and spend the 13,000, does that mean in 2 years they're gonna necessarily pull it out, or is,
Yeah,
because
right.
does it make it
the other part.
not part of some system? Is it gonna be a different kind of crossing light
And
than all
that-
the other
that
crossing
could-
lights?
That could very well be what it is.
It could,
and it sounds like the state's gonna pay for the crossing lights,
Correct.
not us.
Correct.
right, but in a few years
I know,
is
you don't know.
concerning. So why don't we table this rescission until we can get them to come to a meeting?
Do you want Lincoln, or do you want?
We would like
Bikeways?
Bikeways and a representative from Department of Public Works.
Also, I'm curious about the one on 39. It got replaced this year, and I don't know where that funding came from.
We're on 39?
The one that's going towards Orleans.
It's just the next stop on the bike path.
Right, after
Going-
Oak Street.
Oh, the one at Lovers Lane, where
Oh.
Lovers
Yeah,
Lane comes out?
beyond Lovers Lane, they took it out. and I
Oh,
said,
they
"But
took it out?
They took it out, but then they replaced it with a new unit, so maybe that's part of the maintenance.
Maybe it was
Or
under
Maybe it was
warranty?
faulty.
Could be.
Yeah,
I mean, there was obviously an issue with
yeah,
it.
Okay,
yeah, curious.
okay, well, we'll do that then. Okay,
I don't go that way often.
process for the online application. John, you're up.
Okay. So I tried to describe how it works, because I don't know whether I had described that clearly. You want me to step through this, or just?
Yeah, I think if you want to take each thing individually and we can talk it through to see what the issues are, or
Okay.
if there are any.
Because there's, I'll just go through my little description here of how it works. Some of you, maybe all of you, have tried out the thing and seen how that part of it works from the user's point of view. And when the applicant is finished with that process and they review their review copy and they hit submit, I immediately get a notification via email, which has what I'm calling an unformatted and difficult to read version of the application. It's got a lot of formatting commands in it, and it's not worth even trying to figure out what's going on there. So, but I do get a notice immediately when the thing goes in. So what I do is, also the applicant gets a copy of that as well, which is a little unfortunate because it's confusing looking, but That's just the way this thing works right now. So what I do is, when I get the notification, I can make a formatted PDF. It's a simple process. It's a couple of clicks, basically. It's not a bunch of work I have to do. I don't know why it isn't built into the process, but it isn't. And I sent a copy of that back to the applicant I've sort of made a little form email that can be modified a little bit depending on the application, that I send that along to the applicant, and we got 3 new applications from a single applicant today,
Right.
this afternoon, and I went through this process again this afternoon, and when I sent the formatted application back to the applicant, I blind copied you and Dave and Jan.
Yeah.
Last time, when I got one in the beginning of August, I just blind copied Dave and Jan, I think. And so the little form emails gives instructions which have already been given on the form, but anyway, doesn't hurt to repeat yourself. And then the applicant makes paper copies of the signed application, and also makes paper copies of whatever supplemental materials, and they have to be submitted no later than 4 o'clock this year, Tuesday, October 3rd. The other part of it is that, as I've explained before, there's the opportunity for the applicant to upload up to 3 PDF files, each being up to 5 megabytes big. And when I get those things, when they submit those, they automatically get uploaded to the town server somewhere, and there's links in the application form that's made to where those files are, so I can download those files, put them in a folder on my computer along with the formatted application. So that's the process. So I have a bunch of discussion points, but before I get to those, any questions about any of that?
I just had one question, whether, when we met last time, we hadn't received the hard copy from the first applicant. Did we get the hard copy from that first applicant? Do we know?
I don't know.
No, and I have requested of that particular applicant, I asked them the same question,
Just curious.
and we got no response.
Gotcha, okay.
So, but has anyone checked in the CPC box
I looked
since
before this
August?
meeting.
There wasn't anything in there.
Yeah, okay, so I guess the answer
No,
is
I'm
no.
curious.
We don't.
Unless it's in the BOS office,
Could be.
It's not the
Probably check.
deadline
but
yet
I
either.
don't believe so, but,
Yeah, but it could be,
Yeah,
right? It could be.
right. okay.
Is there instructions on which department to return it to?
Here, I'll show you. It's to CPC, care of the selectman's office in
so-
town. There's
I
the-
think they
the
return it
official
right away.
address.
So it's possible that that's where it is.
I asked John earlier if the selectman's office or the town hall office, the town administrator's office, whatever, is aware that these applications will be coming in. And so we need to let them know, so.
There's a new staff person in that office too, I think.
Yeah, I met somebody the other day.
Yeah.
But yes, we will notify them.
Are you gonna do that?
I will take care of it, yeah.
So, any other questions? So, most of the discussion points really have to do with how the information propagates from me getting this stuff to the rest of the committee. First question is, should anyone other than me get the initial email notification with the unformatted application? That the only information really that's there is that an application has been submitted, and it prompts me to go look on, I have to log in to the website and look on the website to see what's there. And there's probably enough information there to figure out who the application is coming from.
Yeah.
But it's probably just spam for most people, so.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that anybody else should get a notification. I mean, you're gonna,
I'm
One
gonna turn
person-
the crank,
because you have to transpose all this stuff into a different format.
yeah. So, okay, I'm
I
gonna,
mean, do you agree?
I mean, my question for you is, are you comfortable that you're gonna have the time to do that turnaround on the submission day? That's my only concern for you. I don't want you to be overburdened with something that, you shouldn't have to be.
I've been aware that I've been creating an obligation for myself, and I've been proceeding under that assumption. It's not a lot of work, but, it's 10 or 20 times not a lot of work, and whether that's not a lot of work or not.
Right.
Whether you
I
get
guess
5
I'm gonna
applications or
find
get
out.
50 is the problem, right?
What's that?
If you get 50 applications,
Yeah, well, that's,
it's more burdensome than if you
I'm
get
not
5, I
worried that
get
we're
it,
gonna
but.
get 50
Right.
applications.
But I mean, I think part of the plus here is that some of the applications are dribbling in already. So
Absolutely.
it's not gonna necessarily be
Absolutely.
all
Right.
on October 1st,
Yeah,
or
that's
October
great.
2nd, which is a good thing.
That's great.
Secondly, I would hope, John, that you are kind of keeping some kind of a journal of the process of what you do, because you are not going to do this forever.
Right.
And we are going to need to hand over this particular role to someone else or hire someone to do it. So if you can kind of, procedurally,
Well, this is a first stab at doing exactly that.
I have a suggestion for you. It's something that I saw on a video, like, 2 weeks ago, and I've actually looked at it for my own office, because we do a lot of scripts and how-tos for each of our processes. It's either called eScribe or eScribe Now, and what it does is when you download it, I do believe there's a free version, that when you download it, it tracks everything that you do. You just go and do your process, and it tracks everything that you do. It does a screenshot of everything, and then gives you a how-to that you can then save and upload for passing along to the next person.
worth
So
looking
you might
into.
want to look at that. Scribe Now, eScribe, something like that.
All right. So the first thing, which was, should anyone other than John get the initial email notification, I think that
No.
that is sufficient for you to do that, since the format will not be as such that we could understand.
Right, so then the next question is, how about when I return the formatted copy of the application to the applicant? I've been BCCing core people here, but if you,
Well, no, I think the question is does the group want to get applications as they come in, or do you want to get them all at once, like on October 2nd?
So I'm going to throw it out there. We're housing them all online at some point, right? I'm going to make John fall out of his chair and say, I don't need copies. I'm good with just going to the website and looking at them.
No,
With-
if I say it too, he's really going to fall off
I
his
know,
chair.
without
John, I am happy with just the online
seeing it on the website. So
so glad to hear that.
The paper.
I'm the
copies
paper
aren't
person.
good.
I admit it freely, but
Yeah, we're
I,
only getting a
Copies,
copy.
And those
this
are all
time
I know,
around,
I
I didn't
know.
need I tried it this year, and I survived without without using my paper copies.
So, but there's several steps here, and that's not exactly the question I was
Right.
asking to start with.
I don't.
That is a question.
I will say I don't need to be blind copied when you're sending them back. The only thing I care about is when they, at the end of the day, when they come in, knowing how many we have.
No, but I think he wants to know, like, he automatically received one and he, CC'd Dave and Jan. And then, so the process, is that how it's gonna be, or does everybody wanna get them when they come in?
Well, so just one other piece of information. All you're getting with that is the form. It's not the full application, because most people are gonna have uploaded supplemental files. That is not part of that email. It's just the form itself.
Okay. So when we get supplemental, the supplemental have to be in by
2 days later.
October 3rd. the next day.
I thought it was it's,
right?
Yeah.
So wait a minute, let's just,
Yeah. Go ahead, back up.
I'm just gonna continue with what I've done so far at this step, which is I'm gonna, blind copy Dave, Kathy, and Jan.
I think that makes sense.
So they're aware that this is happening, they can keep track of, they can look at the application, and somebody, Jan, assigns the, designations
that's fine. I
to
think
the
that makes sense.
applications. That can be done. So you guys aren't arguing with that, so let's keep it that
But
way.
we're not gonna assign designations until we have them all,
Right,
number
but
one.
I'm assuming
And number
most-
two, they won't be complete if we don't have the supplemental materials, so.
Okay. Are you
So do
saying
they-
I
no,
shouldn't
so-
bother to blind copy
No, well, I'm just
anyway?
saying, so how many copies do you wanna have all this stuff coming
May-
in?
If I may suggest.
Yeah.
As we get the applications, I'll start a running list
Right.
and do it in our category breakdowns, say the name, the amount, who's submitting it, kinda like our basic
Yeah.
running.
Yeah, that would be great.
And I think what John really wanted out of this question was, do you guys want these 3-page form applications
No.
as they
Okay.
come in, or after everything's done, and I'll just do a running list? Like we heard tonight, the HTC is gonna submit something.
Right.
That's kinda nice to know. So I'll just keep a running list. We won't forward the applications to everybody until we have everything.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so that's fine.
Okay.
I think it's good that they're blind copied though, so that at least
Wow.
more than you
Right.
is aware of it coming
Yeah,
in, because that's not fair to
I
you
think that's
either.
right, okay,
So, let's skip 3 for a moment.
okay.
So then the other sort of bigger question, which we've already been starting to talk about, is when and how do I make these things available? And the easiest thing for me to do is put them up the way I have in past years on the CPC webpage. And I can do that, within days after the application deadline, because I should have all the material, except that people who end up with like 50 megabyte supplemental file will need to submit that on a memory stick, and I can't do anything with that until I get it.
Right.
But I can put those things as I get them, as they're more or less complete, up on the webpage, as they come in, more or less, during that first week.
So are you saying that the way that the committee is going to access the applications is through the website, the same as everybody else?
That's what I'm saying, unless, my other suggestion, which I also put here, is I could make a folder on Google Drive that I share with committee members only, or committee members in Jan, and that just goes by emails. And I can put stuff up there first, as it becomes available, and you guys can look at it there, and then, once that is all complete, I can put it all up on the webpage.
So after October 3rd, which is the
Right.
day that the signed copies are due in,
Yeah,
after October 3rd, you would put together this folder
yeah.
and make it available to the committee.
I mean, I could do that right now, so the committee could see what we already have.
I think everybody said they didn't really want to get partial.
I just
But
think,
it's
I think
not-
that's a lot of extra work
Yeah.
for you to do it. I understand it's a Google Drive. I'm not a fan of Google Drives myself, but neither here nor there. I don't need it. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not gonna look at them until they're on the webpage,
I like the Google Drive.
Sorry.
But it is because you get everything in a folder, all your attachments, doesn't matter the size, right, on Google Drive.
Right.
And Now, is there a restriction on the website? If like
No.
there was a really big attachment?
No, I've put the big,
Okay.
big attachments
I think
up
it's
on
an
the-
email restriction I think it's this emails, there might be an email size restriction
Well, it's
coming in.
coming in, it's the size of files that you can upload as part of the application. It's a feature of the Civics Plus
Right.
Right.
web package that
Yep.
we use that should go away with the upgrade that's supposed to happen before the next site.
Yeah, no, I'm
Now,
unfortunately
the
live with
Google
it.
Drive
Emails it to us.
does solve
Our
your,
system won't accept big
number
emails,
three
won't see the
about the
application's
confidential
supplemental
stuff.
material.
Right, that may be the only way to deal with that. The question is, whether anybody is holding back submitting an application even now because it's confidential and needs some reassurance that whatever the process is will, maintain the confidentiality. So that's another discussion point, is should we be providing a backdoor path here for someone who doesn't want, who's quite concerned about sharing their application with the rest of the world right now? Or is it sufficient to allow them to submit it through the regular process and we just won't, I can treat it differently than all the other things one way or another.
I just think it doesn't go up on the website. I mean, Google would give us a way to access it electronically if it's password locked to those of us, but, I mean, I just,
I think if you get an application that says confidential on it, then you just still distribute it to the committee with the words confidential on it, and we just don't put it on the website.
right.
Distributed how?
Yeah.
I know that's your question for me, but, I mean,
Well, I thought we just decided he was gonna put it in a Google folder,
Oh,
yeah.
right?
I mean, if you do that, to me, that's the way.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Google either, but that's because I don't know
Well, I
anything.
don't like
but-
Google, because Google owns everything everything you put up online. Their privacy policy says we own it, and we can do whatever we want with it. That's why I don't like
Do
Google.
print
Well,
out hand
for that reason,
copies of
but
it, confidential.
Generally,
From a practical standpoint, are they gonna care about an application online? No.
Typically,
it's
our,
a matter of public record, right?
right, our only, historically speaking, in the last decade or so, our only confidential applications have been ones that that deal with land negotiations. And it looks like this year that that's not the case. So we might not have to deal with that. I mean, unless,
I'm
you know,
not talking.
Is there, so,
I think that may not be the case, what you're saying may not be the
Okay.
case.
okay.
And,
Well, the 3 articles that HCT just submitted, none of them are confidential.
right,
Okay, so it's something else then.
Make them go to paper copy. And we want just paper copies of anything confidential.
well, but eventually the confidentiality is gonna go away.
Then they'll have to give
and
it
we-
to us.
so you can always email it to
Right
us
now,
and
it's
just
paper
mark it, confidential for your eyes only, and, you know, because we have to treat it as executive session. We can't talk about it unless we're in executive session, so it can't be on an agenda. It shouldn't be on the webpage unless you can password protect the documents when you upload
It's
them.
not- I mean, what we did last year and maybe previous years was just list the item.
Yep.
But only by its designation and with
Right.
no other information.
Yeah.
Right.
and no link to the thing.
Right, until
And-
we could
But
raise it.
and did we only have paper copies at that point in the committee?
I think you
guess
did.
that's the case.
And the paper
mean-
copies don't get distributed anywhere until they've taken the confidentially out of it. So it's
What?
just for committee members. Nobody else in the town hall or the library, they were not distributed.
Okay, so
But it also can't get discussed unless we're in executive session.
Exactly. That's
Let's,
why paper copy.
let me suggest this. That for confidential applications, the applicant can use the online form. But I won't put that anywhere. I will keep it actually just on my computer, and we will request that they provide paper copies for the committee members.
Okay.
So,
I mean, why wouldn't we want the online copy if it's not gonna be distributed anywhere, as long as it
Yeah, I
doesn't go
mean,
on the website?
If it's gonna be a protected Google Drive, I mean,